Just 1, 2, 3, 4.
And we're on. Okay, for the second time. I'm Barbara Garrity Blake, talking to Mr. Wayne Gray here on June 23rd, 2004, and I appreciate you taking the time with me again since I completely messed up the first interview. Mr. Gray, hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
You met Cheryl.
Yeah, this is probably deja vu for both.
Do what you gotta do.
I know. Before I was here, last time you were running for for town commissioner. Now you are town commissioner, and so you're in the middle of all the issues that face a growing city, really, like Nags Head. I mean, the population and all the issues associated with that. When you go back to Avon, do you see that as sort of a village that's so different, or do you see some of the same issues happening in Avon now, or do you think this is eventually going to make its way to Avon with development and all the things associated with
No,
that?
I don't see the issues in Avon. When I go to Avon, I see the old village
Mm-hmm.
as I knew it, and with no problems.
Yeah.
You know, when I left home, we had no problems in Avon,
Right.
and I kind of look at it that way now.
And when did you leave home?
1958, I joined the Coast Guard,
Right.
and back then we didn't have problems in Avon.
Right.
And when I go back now, I tend to look at the same things the same way, but it's changed. It's different. You know.
Yeah. And what kind of things have changed in Avon?
Well, when I left in 1958, I knew everybody in the village. Most people we can. You go back today, you don't see that many people you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people from up north have moved in, out west have moved in, and the old village. You know you're in the old village, but everything else has changed.
Right.
You know, all the old people have died off. So with them, the village kind of died.
Uh-huh.
You know,
What about the younger people coming up?
they're not. They're not like the older people. The people that were there when I grew up were old island people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a different world. You
So
know.
more of the difference in a way of life.
Oh, totally
Then-
different.
Then maybe family names might still be the
Yeah,
same.
the family names are the same to a point,
Mm-hmm.
but it's different. People back in 1958 were fishing. A lot of people fishing and crabbing, Coast Guard. And today there's nobody in the Coast Guard, and very few people fishing and crabbing.
Right.
So they're dependent on their livelihood from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But still a nice place.
And how about the way people treat each other? Do you think that's changed at all?
The island people, no,
Right.
not a bit. I go down there and I see people. Did you interview Manson Meekins?
We already have an interview.
Boy,
on
he's
file.
my uncle. That's the
He
greatest guy in the
is.
world.
Yeah, the interview with him is real thick. He is
Yeah,
interesting.
he is. He'll be 90 years old his next birthday,
Oh,
and he comes up to
really?
Oregon Inlet and goes clamming with me.
Is that right?
Travels all over the country, hunting. He's a great guy. He's
Yeah.
89 and my mother's 90. But all of the brothers and sisters were up in their 80s or 90s,
Oh,
so they all
okay.
live pretty old.
Yeah.
But you know, to see people like that, you mentioned L.P. O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they're the same.
Right.
Very little difference.
Yeah. And so, you returned to the island a couple times to work, didn't you?
Yeah, my last assignment in the Coast Guard was Oregon Inlet.
Mm-hmm.
I was in charge there, and I retired one evening and went to work that night as a deputy on Hatteras Island.
Oh, a deputy sheriff?
Yeah, so I worked down there close to 5 years, and then I went with the North Carolina Marine Patrol and worked with them 5 years.
And that was your district?
Well, with the Marine Patrol, I was the whole state, the
Yeah.
entire state.
Wow.
But with the sheriff, I worked at Hatteras Island.
Oh, okay.
And saw a lot of people I knew, which made the job easier,
Right.
you know, when you know the people.
Yeah.
But that's where I really saw the change at Hatteras Island, was working for the sheriff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did you see?
Well, it was a different world, different people. What I saw as a deputy sheriff, I had never seen on Hatteras Island before,
Right.
you know, and I would have liked to go back to Avon and retired. I still have the whole home place down there, but it's just not a good place to retire in my eye.
Yeah.
It's a good place to go and spend a week. I enjoy that,
Right.
but I don't think I'd want to live down there.
Well, it's not like there's murder and theft, or things like
Well,
that.
working for the sheriff, I saw all of it. I saw homicides, suicides, everything.
Yeah, you
The
just saw
crime
that.
on Hatteras Island is, people don't know about it.
Yeah,
You know, there's a lot of crime down there.
really.
Yeah. We had as high, that's where I met my wife.
Oh, okay, she was assigned down there too.
Yeah, she was, come out of Virginia.
Right.
She worked for, the state in Virginia. And then she come down to North Carolina and went to the police academy in North Carolina
Okay.
and was assigned to Hatteras Island, and I was her field training officer.
Okay. And what years about were that?
Well, that was in
those?
91.
Oh,
No, 1990.
90, okay.
Yeah.
So at that time there was probably a growing, because I know there's a substance abuse problem, big
Terrible.
time.
Terrible, yeah.
And it was bad in the 90s, early 90s
Yes,
too?
it was. And Avon the worst.
Yeah, yeah.
The
There's been a
sheriff
couple-
is doing a great job cleaning it up.
Yeah,
The last 2 years has been fabulous. Really
Right.
done a good job.
yeah. I wonder why particular Avon.
Because the law had never messed with Avon. And the law was never that aggressive as far as drug enforcement went.
Right.
My job on Hatteras Island was traffic.
Uh-huh.
I was a radar officer,
Oh, okay.
and that's what I put most of my time on.
Right.
Well, I should have been doing something else, in my
Would that
opinion.
have put you in an awkward position, being from Avon?
Working drugs and Avon?
Uh-huh.
No, it didn't bother me.
Yeah. But
Didn't bother me.
the officers before you had kind of left it alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. They did until the new sheriff come in
Ah.
2 years ago.
Right.
And then he stressed drug enforcement.
Yeah.
We should have been done a long time ago.
Right. So there's been more arrests made.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
they
sort of
cleaned
thing.
drugs up in Avon. It's still there, I mean, but not on the same level that it was 2 years ago.
Oh, right.
They've made 25 arrests in Avon.
Really?
Yeah.
In the last couple of years?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, they've really done a good job.
Gosh. Well, I know there was a very heartbreaking death there this past year. One of the young fellas.
My sister's son died
Oh, really?
a
That
year
was your
ago this
sister's
month,
son?
yeah, overdose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it
Sad.
a year ago this month? Yeah. Was that the case where he had been over here and was driving back? And
No, that's another, yeah,
That's
that was
the
a
first-
gray
that-
boy.
That was not a year ago.
Yeah, no, that was just a few months ago.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
of.
that was a gray boy.
Right.
But they've lost 10 boys from Avon because of drugs.
10?
Yeah.
You're kidding. I thought it was
No.
just the 2.
No, they've lost 10. They've lost 10 since 1990.
Oh.
On drug overdose, suicide, homicide because of over drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost at least 10.
And do you think the suicide was related to drugs too somehow?
Oh,
Yeah. Gosh.
We had a double homicide and a suicide in Buxton one night, and that was drug related.
Oh my gosh.
But things have really changed down here.
Right.
A big crime when I grew up in Avon was stealing somebody's peaches.
Yeah. right.
That was a big crime.
Or a big crime would be a chicken.
A chicken, yeah. Yeah, that was a big crime.
And probably the strongest drug would be a little moonshine or something, huh?
No, there's no moonshine down there when I grew up. And kids didn't drink.
Yeah.
You know, I had never touched a drop of alcohol before I went to the Coast Guard.
Uh-huh.
And most guys were that way.
Right.
But now it's young kids drinking and drugging.
Yeah. That's so sad.
I know. Sure
And you
is.
were telling me before that there was more of a informal ways of enforcing, I guess, community, good community behavior in Avon, where everything wasn't thrown to like the sheriff's department, that neighbors would go around or something, or.
In Avon, I think in all the villages, they had the KKK, not against black people. We didn't know black
Right.
people.
It was the cake. I thought you said it was sort of like that, but not quite.
Well, the See, but I mean, it was nothing against black people.
It wasn't about that.
No, because there's no black people. I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know a black person from a green one.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a bunch of guys that if a guy was beating his wife,
That's
they'd
what
get
it
him.
was. That's
they
what
would handle it themselves.
Right.
You
And
know,
maybe running
and
out.
scare kids. That was a big thing.
Scared. Were you ever scared?
Yes.
What do they do?
They put a sheet over their head and hide in the bushes, and you walk by at night, and they jump out at you when you're 10 years old.
Oh my!
You
You
know,
think
it's
that was a ghost?
Yeah. But that's, I mean, I say the KKK, we call them the Ku Klux, and that's what it was.
Right.
But I mean, it was nothing, nothing against black people. In fact, I doubt people even knew that the KKK was something against black people.
And you say that other villages had this too?
I
More
think,
or less?
I think they did. I don't know.
Yeah, but maybe it wasn't even part of a formal network. Maybe it was just people that
No, it was
call
just
themselves
a few,
that.
few people is all it was.
Yeah,
You know.
right.
But they were there.
And say somebody was beating his wife, would they run him out, or would they just scare him into?
They would beat the hell out of him.
Oh,
You know, he would know the next time that he'd get the same thing.
right. Wow.
See, there's no law down there.
Yeah.
You know, no law.
Yeah. When did the sheriff's
We got no
department?
law. Excuse me. I would say about 56.
56. Wow.
Yeah. If I remember right, about 56.
Right. So before then, the community had to pretty much handle things.
Yeah.
Unless something major happened, they had to call in somebody.
Nothing major happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember a killing. I don't remember a killing up until 56.
Mhm.
But if we needed a sheriff, they'd come from Manio, which
Right.
is an all-day trip.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that was before the bridge?
56, yeah.
Yeah, that
That was
would
a
be
ferry.
a long trip, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, and how about marine fisheries? What was it like being a marine patrol officer in your own area with lots of commercial fishermen that you knew?
Well, having been a deputy sheriff down there, I knew everybody, and it was fine. There was no problem.
Oh, you were yeah, that's right. They were already used to you enforcing
Yeah.
things.
So one day I was down there as a deputy sheriff, the next day I was in a Marine Patrol uniform.
Gosh.
So I didn't have a problem. I never had a law enforcement problem down there
Yeah.
the whole time I was there.
Hmm.
Uh,
And what years were you doing the Marine Patrol?
95 to 2000.
Oh, so that was when things were pretty complicated. That was fairly recently.
95, yeah.
There's
I
just a lot
retired
of laws on the
2001.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of rules and regulations now.
You can't keep up with them. We
Uh-uh.
couldn't.
No.
Us guys in the field couldn't keep up with them.
No. And then there's the whole Park Service. Did you have to enforce any of that? They had their own thing going on.
Yeah,
'Cause
Park
they've got
Service
their
is separate.
whole regulation,
Yeah.
body of regulation.
Of course, you had a mutual aid thing if a park ranger needed a backup. You know,
Right.
we were there. If we needed one, they were there.
Yeah.
But they enforce their own laws. They're federal.
So why do you think the commercial fishing industry is having such a tough time now? What are your observations about that?
The commercial fishing industry in the past has not regulated themselves like they should have.
Mhm.
I mean, they were killing everything.
Right.
Made no difference. And up 10 years ago, they began to realize we've got to quit it.
Right.
You know, we've got to quit killing everything. And now most commercial fishermen will regulate themselves.
Mhm.
But the national marine fisheries and the state fisheries have stepped in with their laws, which it's got to be that way, because a commercial fisherman will catch the last trout in the world and sell him.
Right.
Under the guise, if I don't catch him, somebody else will.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times.
So do you think that's why they're having a hard time now? Because they've simply overfished the stocks, and now it's their own fault?
Well, I've heard the stocks have been overfished, but fish come in cycles.
Mhm.
Bluefish,
Mhm.
big bluefish.
Are you a fisherman too?
Yeah, I like to fish.
Yeah.
Not that much. I like to clam. I like to go out on the water.
Yeah.
Big bluefish will be here this year, next year, then they're gone. 5 years, and people say, Well, they've caught them all. People have killed them all. They've caught them.
Right,
But if you go 10 miles offshore, there's acres and acres and acres of big bluefish, and they're out there in food and bait. And as that bait moves ashore, they'll follow them.
Right.
And when the bait's gone out there, then they'll come ashore looking for food, and they're back. And people say, "Well, boy, they've made a recovery." Well, they were there. They've been here.
Right.
And then they follow the Great Circle to the Gulf Stream, from here over to Africa, all the way around, back up the coast.
That's
So,
amazing.
so it's it's a cycle.
Yeah.
It's like rockfish. They were going. The last rockfish was in the 70s. Then all of a sudden they're gone. Everybody says, "Caught them all." We didn't catch them all. It just took more time for them to come back.
Right.
And when they come back, I mean, they're eating everything up now. Crabs, they're killing crabs.
Yeah, right now crabs are showing up great, aren't they?
Yeah, but the rockfish are taking a lot of them out
Oh, I gotcha.
because they eat them.
Right.
Maybe 5 years from today, there won't be that many rockfish, but it's not because we caught them all.
Right.
It's because they moved on somewhere else,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah.
But I think Marine Fisheries does a good job. They've got to be there,
Right.
and they've got to make the laws. They've got to enforce them. If not, such a waste.
Yeah, and somebody was just pointing out that when you're starting out in Marine Patrol, it's not the highest paying job in the world, yet in this area it's very expensive to live, so that makes it hard on these guys, you know.
Well, with me, I went with the sheriff as a hobby. See, I was retired from the Coast Guard, so I had my income,
Right.
and it was fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I see other guys struggling.
Right.
You know, Nags Head today, we've got a Marine Patrol officer that lives. We've got 3 deputy sheriffs that live back here. These houses back here is $500,000 apiece.
Gosh.
And we got 3 deputy sheriffs
So
living
they're
back
doing
here
okay.
saying, "Boy, they just ain't paying us anything. We just ain't making any money." But he's living in a $500,000 house down the road. And where he got it, I don't know.
Right.
So I don't feel sorry for him.
No. No.
You know.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. We had 3 cops living back here, 2 deputy sheriffs, and an Nags Head cop. None of them made over 30,000. The 3 of them had a $500,000 home.
Gosh.
So
Yeah.
things ain't that bad.
No, there's something missing out of that. There's one puzzle piece
Yeah,
missing.
That's right.
So, what were your parents' names and what did they do for a living?
My father was Irving Gray. He's 93 years old today.
Oh, he's still alive? Is he still in
yeah.
Avon?
No, he's in Elizabeth City.
Oh, okay.
My mother is Mary Gray. She's 90.
Uh-huh.
They just celebrated their 69th wedding anniversary.
Oh, is she with him there? And
No, he's in a rest home.
Oh, right.
Mama's still driving.
Gosh, that's something.
I took her to have her driver's license renewed the other day, and the girl says, "You know, man, being you're so old, I've got to take you on a road test."
Right.
And she come back and said, looked at me and said, "Amazing, just amazing."
Yeah.
But Mama's in good shape.
That's great. Last time I was here, it was right after Hurricane Isabel, and I don't think there was access to Hatteras Island at the time. And you were talking about the different ways people used to deal with hurricanes compared with today. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, when I was a kid at Avon, we didn't know a hurricane was coming. You know, the old people would say, "Boy, it sure looks like a hurricane."
Mm-hmm.
We had radios, but they were battery radios.
Right.
Radio was that big, with a battery that big, and a wire right out the window. We didn't have one, but other people did.
Right.
There was no person-to-person radios like we have today, you know, like police radios. And people just felt there was a storm coming, and finally it got there, and when they left, everybody just went on about their business. It seemed to me like.
Yeah.
I don't remember it ever being made a big deal.
Did you ever go through a big storm while you were living there?
Yeah, sure did, but I don't remember it as a big deal, you know.
Right.
water come up in the house, but the next day it was over.
Yeah.
There was nothing that could hurt. They wash your house around a little bit, but I mean, as far as doing a lot of damage,
Do you remember how your parents used to prepare at all?
they didn't.
Really?
No.
Huh.
I don't remember them preparing.
Yeah.
And life went on normal. And if we got one, I guess we stayed inside. But I remember a lot of times we'd go down to the harbor and stay on the fish dock. The guys would, the men and the kids, young kids.
Right.
But I don't remember it being made a big deal.
Yeah.
We never lost anybody.
And you'd have water come in the house,
Yeah.
and then it would go out, and would you
Yeah.
have mud in your house?
Oh yeah.
So what'd you have to do? Just
Buckets of water and wash it out.
and that was it.
That was it. Yeah, that was it.
And nowadays, the helicopters start coming overhead and
Oh, yeah.
FEMA. And
Yep.
do you think after a bad hurricane, would the government send anybody down to check on the villagers?
The only time I remember was in Hurricane Gloria in '85. That's the first time I remember people coming on the island to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent the
85.
National Guard down there, yeah.
Right.
And they come in the village and just help people get back on their feet. But now, you know, something happens now, it's as fast as they can get people down there to help.
Right.
I mean, when I worked down there, one night we had 17 troopers come on the island one time. Convoy of 17
Wow.
to come out of North Carolina. And that was unheard of. That's the first time.
Was that what hurricane was that for?
That was 93, 92.
Emily, maybe?
Emily, yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And they had National Guard down there. But the island is so built up now that they need help.
Oh yeah.
You know, back when I was a kid, how were they going to help us?
Right.
You know, we didn't have anything. People took care of their house and took care of their boat and parked their car on a hill.
Right.
You know, how are they going to help us?
Yeah.
So they didn't. They didn't come down there.
And nobody ever died in a hurricane.
No,
did they?
nobody I know of. Not from Avon. I don't know about the
Yeah.
other villages.
I just haven't heard of anybody dying in a
No.
hurricane. So the old timers would just kind of wait it out,
Just wait it out.
clean it up, and
Yeah.
go on.
Yep. And that's one reason today that I don't have the fear of a hurricane. You know, and that's silly. To not fear a hurricane, to not have, I mean, I got respect, don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but the fear to the point that I would leave Nag's Head
Oh,
and
right.
go inland, you know, I just don't have that worry,
Right.
you know.
Because you've been through so
People,
many
I
of
know, people, there's a girl down the street, when one's coming, she'll call me and say, what are you gonna do, Wayne? I'm gonna stay right here. Well, when you get ready to leave, I'm leaving. Okay, so the hurricane was coming. I called her one day and I said, Debbie, I'm out of here. She said, John, he's leaving.
you're the barometer for that, right?
Yeah.
You ever get out of here, they know it's going to be really bad.
Yeah, I was only joking with her. I said, I'm gone. She said, John, he's leaving. But it's all from being down there and not worrying about it.
Right.
You know, as a kid, you didn't have to worry about it. But, you know, as you get older, it's just, you know, the tide rises and tide falls. Now, down where LP lives, you went to his house,
Mm-hmm.
boy, he has it rough down there.
Yeah, he's in the marsh just
Oh,
about.
he's in the marsh, yeah. And his house used to be that high off the ground. So in recent years, he's had it jacked up.
Yeah, I just heard a lot of people right after Emily
Yeah,
had
that's right.
the
So
government
every
came
time,
in and jacked up a lot of
every time the
houses.
tide got high, you know, really high, he went in his house.
Right.
But they had plugs in the floors and take the plugs out.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah,
Do you have plugs in your home place?
no,
Yeah.
we don't.
Do you still go there and stay?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it
we keep,
habitable?
oh, yeah, everything's ready to move in.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah,
nice.
we went down there and stayed a week, about a month ago, and I think we're gonna go again.
Oh, that,
But we keep it, everything's ready.
they must be really happy to see you when you come back like that.
I enjoy seeing people,
Uh-huh.
you know, that I know, the local people.
Right.
My brother goes down there once in a while, but other than that, nobody. We don't rent it.
Right. Yeah, well, it's strange to see the real historical old houses with a rental sign on it. It doesn't seem right. There's
I
something
can't,
not right about that.
I don't like the thoughts of somebody moving in our home place.
Nah.
You know, I just don't, it's worth $1,500 a month, but money's not worth it.
Nah.
It's not worth it.
Do you still have a cistern at your home place?
No,
Do you remember those?
oh yeah, cleaned them into one. We had a pitcher pump out in the yard.
Oh, right.
And then
right.
we got modern, we got one in the house,
A pump in the
a
house.
pump in the house,
Yeah.
and that was really not nice. We didn't have to go out in the yard and pump
What
the
year
water.
were you born?
1940.
1940, gosh.
Yeah.
it's-
We got electricity, I guess, in 50, 51, somewhere around
So
there.
you were about 10 or 11 years old when you got electricity.
And we got the second bathroom in Avon. And boy, to have see a commode that you could flush was amazing. Everybody was just carried away with that commode that you could flush.
Right. If you could probably bring your friends in and charge
Well,
you
yeah,
a nickel.
people wanted to see it. People wanted to see that thing, you know,
Right.
because everybody had outhouses up until then. My grandfather guy had the first one,
Oh, yeah.
and then we had the second one.
Mhm.
But life got better then.
Right. Wow, so when you were a boy, things were still very primitive.
Well, we didn't have electricity. My mother used to wash clothes, and she would have to heat the water outside and wash on a washing board. You know,
Right.
that's how she washed. So it was rough.
Yeah.
And pump the water. Us kids pumped the water for her.
Now, when you cleaned the cistern, what did that entail?
Just going down in there and cleaning the black stuff out, sand,
Oh.
stuff that come off the roof.
Right.
But that was the best water going.
How did you filter the water?
You didn't.
You just went right into that cistern? Did you
Went
ever
right
have
out.
mosquito larvae and all that kind of stuff in there?
Don't know. You had bird dung though, because birds would get in there and nest,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
would get nasty.
So how did
But
the
it was
water
good.
taste?
Oh, it was great. It was good water. It was really good water. You know, when I first went to Oregon Inlet in '84 to Coast Guard, we got our water out of cisterns, but we pumped it out of the ground into the cistern as a holding tank,
Mhm.
and then we pumped it out of that through a filtering system, and we had birds in those tanks.
Oh, dead birds?
Dead birds, yeah. You could smell the birds when they were
Ugh.
dead, and then we'd have to clean the tank out. But you always had birds building nests around the edge of the tank. Because
Really?
the eaves were open, you know,
Yeah.
up under the eaves, and birds would get in there.
Well, I'm surprised that didn't bring some kind of health problem.
Nah, it wouldn't hurt you.
Really? Do you remember people getting sick?
No,
People stayed pretty healthy.
yeah. I remember old people, you know, dying, but not, there wasn't that much sickness around, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, myself, I caught a cold last winter and caught one last week. First two I've had in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's the only two that I remember. And I asked my mother, and she don't remember. But you know, people were healthy,
Yeah.
so
I read an article that in Avon there's one of those old dipping bats,
yeah,
and that they've had some people come down with cancer in that area, and they're testing
that could be
them.
the Avon. There's so much cancer at Avon.
Is there a lot of cancer in
Yeah.
Avon?
Cheryl and I was talking about it yesterday, and it could easily be that.
Yeah.
Passed down through generations of people, because those dipping bats was nearly pure DDT.
Oh.
And what they were was a concrete vat.
Do you remember it?
Oh yeah, there was one down by my house. I've never seen one used,
Right.
but it was there,
Uh-huh.
you know, from past years.
Yeah.
But they'd take a cow and march the cow up a ramp down through that vat and put that stuff all over them for ticks and fleas,
Mhm.
and they march them out the other side.
Ah. Okay.
And DDT was strong,
Right.
and it could have had an effect on people.
Does that have arsenic in it or anything?
I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah.
But just in the fish hawks, you know, the birds you see nesting along
Right.
the poles,
Yep.
you know, it got in those birds, DDT, and nearly killed them off.
Gosh.
They were nearly gone, all of them, and then the Coast Guard intervened,
Right.
and the Coast Guard started taking care of them. And today they made a comeback.
Did they empty those vats when they were done with them, or?
Yeah, they did them on the sand.
Oh, so.
Pull the plug and it run out on the sand.
So year after year,
Yeah,
you would be
So
getting
you know
this
it got in the water.
poison. Yeah.
so that could be the reason the cancer rate down there is so high.
But higher now than it was, say, 20 or 30 years ago.
Well, I don't know, but just today, there's a lot of cancer down there,
Right.
a lot of cancer.
Yeah, and some of the children have cancer.
I don't know about kids, but I know a lot of old people that has it. There's probably a dozen on Avon right now with it,
Wow.
and that's a lot in a little small village like
That is
that.
a lot. That
In
is
the
a lot.
old village, I don't mean on the outside.
Well, several of the people that I've interviewed in the Waves and Salvo area
Yeah.
have had cancer too.
They had the same
Somebody I
thing up
interviewed
there.
had cancer and has since died in Buxton. So it might be a whole island.
Yeah,
Then
'cause
you
they had
wonder-
the dipping baths up in Waves, 'cause they had a lot of cattle up there.
Did they have a lot of cattle? in
Yeah, a lot of
Waves?
cattle.
Why would they have more up there in Waves?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
I remember seeing them between Waves and Salvo,
Were they in a pen or was
Yeah, they were penned.
Yeah, there's
'cause they had a
pasture.
pen law down there then.
Right.
Once the government came in and made them round up the horses,
No more free roaming
Yeah.
livestock.
yeah, they had a pen law.
Right.
But there was probably 50 cows in there, that I remember,
Huh.
and they had their dipping baths.
Yeah.
But that was, I remember it up there, 'cause that was up in the 50s, when they had those cows up there.
Right. Right. Do you remember much of a political life on the island or in Avon? I mean, was there always a county commissioner from that area when you were a boy, or was
Yeah,
it?
I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
First time I remember politics was a guy offered me a bottle of whiskey if I changed my politics to Democrat.
Oh no. A villager?
Yeah, and I was in the Coast Guard then, because I went to register to vote. My grandfather took me up there, and he was one of 3 Republicans in the village. And we pulled up in front of the place to register, and he said, "Go in there and register a Republican." So I did.
He told you what party to
To me, it made no difference.
Right.
But to him, he wanted more Republicans down there.
Yeah.
So he took me up there and said, "Go in there and register Republican." So I did.
And then you stay Republican ever since.
No, I didn't. I changed my affiliation probably 10 years ago when Bobby Owens was running for the county commissioner. I wanted to vote for Bobby.
Oh, so you became independent,
No, I
Democrat.
went Democrat, but I'm
Ah.
going to change back to Republican. I am a registered Democrat that votes Republican and thinks like a libertarian.
Oh, so you run the whole gamut.
Yeah.
That means you're a free man.
When I ran in Nags Head, people would ask me and I'd tell them that.
But
know?
you ran as a Democrat?
Well, it's nonpartisan in Nags Head,
Oh,
so
okay.
it didn't
Yeah.
make that much difference.
Right.
But it
right.
does. There's some people that it does. There's people who will vote for nothing but Democrat,
Right.
and I'm not in that.
So when you registered Democrat, it had nothing to do with that bottle of whiskey.
Oh no, that was yours. I was a kid then. No.
Is Avon largely Republican?
Yes.
Whereas the rest of the island is largely Democrat, isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah, that's
I'd say
interesting.
it's about 50-50, but Avon's Republican.
Mhm.
The old village is.
Right.
Now the new people that's moved in, I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
But if you're a Democrat, don't go to Avon politicking.
Right.
It won't help.
So, Mac Midget, is he a Democrat or a Republican?
Mac's a Democrat.
He's a Democrat.
Yeah. Mac's a hard-nosed Democrat.
Uh-huh.
In other words, you go to vote and you check that one box.
Right.
Yeah.
He's of the people, for the people.
That's right.
The working man. Avon is so independent to me. I mean, when you look at the villages, you've got sort of Hatteras, Buxton, and Frisco are sort of all
I
clumped,
know.
and then you have Waves, Rodanthe, and Salvo, but then right smack in the middle there's just Avon all
Well, Rodanthe, Ways, and Salvo used to be three distinct villages, and there was about a mile between them, no houses,
Right.
with nothing. You had Rodanthe, then you had about a mile, and in that mile was one church,
Mhm.
set off on the ocean side, and then you had Waves, and you had a mile between it and Salvo.
Ah.
And it was three distinct villages,
Right.
and it was three different ways of life.
Really? You
Yeah.
notice differences between those three villages?
Oh yeah, sure did.
Such as what?
Well, Rodanthe was midgets,
Uh-huh.
and they all stuck together. They didn't like people from Waves. It was just a clannish,
Right.
you know. And Salvo was kind of a mild place, not much going on. Grays, Williams, O'Neills. Then you had Avon, which was separate,
Mhm.
totally separate. Then you had Buxton, Frisco, and Hatteras. But Avon's always kind of been on its own.
Right. Which is why you could see maybe have a different political
Yeah.
affiliation, and plus geographically it's so far from either side.
Yeah. Before they built outside the old village, you know, out on the main highway, all the summer houses,
Yeah.
there was nothing out there. Nothing.
Did the
I
road
mean,
go through the sand or did it go through the village?
no. It went up where the stoplight is today
Uh-huh.
and turned right.
Okay.
But there was nothing out, no stoplight.
Right.
And you took the road in the village, you had a dike around the village, keep the
Ah.
ocean out.
Really?
Yeah. And you went over the dike and then you were in the village.
Who built the dike?
County.
And it's not there anymore, is it?
Yeah, it's still there.
A dike?
Some places they pushed it down,
Yeah.
but most places it's still there. It's there on my property.
Wow.
I've never pushed it down.
It's just basically a berm of earth.
It's a berm, probably 10 feet high.
Wow.
It's been there since back in the 50s.
Now, why did Avon get one and not the other villages?
The other villages didn't need one like Avon.
Avon really got slammed
Yeah,
apparently in
because
a storm.
the ocean tide used to affect us bad sometimes.
Right.
I say bad, it would go into the house and, you know, watch the chicken cook down.
Yeah.
So they dug a canal all the way around Avon as a drain and put that levee up.
Uh-huh.
I think it helped quite a bit,
Right.
but now they're tearing it down. They want to do all the sand, and one day they're going to pay for it.
Right.
It'll come back and haunt them.
Mhm. Some big storm, huh?
That's right.
Well, I guess to tie this up, do you think that what do you think the future is of little villages like Avon?
Tourists?
Do you think the culture will continue or
No.
persist?
No. People are going in Avon and paying $500,000 for those old houses and tearing them down and putting up places on stilts. Once the old people are gone, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. And I'll tell you something. Some of the people moving in are the nicest people in the world.
Mhm.
They're really nice people. Manson's got friends down there from Pennsylvania, New York, Baltimore, Provincetown, Mass. Nicest people you've ever met in your life.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. They go down to his house and just sit there. They're there because they like the freedom of just being there, talking to Manson.
Right.
And they go out in the sun with him fishing, and they think it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You know, they really enjoy it down there. And I'm so glad that they can.
Mhm.
You know, that they can go down there and enjoy it. Because
Right.
they're not drunk and out raising hell. They're not selling dope. They're just people down there for the enjoyment of being there.
And who can appreciate Avon for what it
Exactly.
is,
That's
and
exactly.
people like Manson,
That's right.
instead of just seeing
Yeah.
dollar signs and the beach or
Yeah.
whatever. Some
I
people
went
do.
down, when Cheryl and I went down for a week, Manson and I went fishing, setting fish nets. We had a couple guys go with us, and God, they enjoyed that so much.
Yeah.
And one of them was a chemist out of Philadelphia. And he told me that he worked 6 days a week all of his life. And then all of a sudden he retires and moves to Avon, of all the god-awful places to move. And he got down there, and he said a year to slow down. And then after a year, I realized that this is the place. They enjoy it. And it's nice.
And it is nice. And so then it makes me wonder, you talk about a community disappearing, development.
Well, being from down there, you tend to look back the way that it used to be. It's not that way anymore. It's not there. And progress, you just have to accept it. Even though it would be nice if it was that way. People look at me and say, well, we need tourism. I don't need it.
No.
I mean, why do I need tourism? I'm retired from the military, the state. I run a nice yacht. I captain a nice yacht. Why do I need tourists? I don't need tourists. They didn't tell me that. But we have support for other people.
Right.
Other people have to have them to live.
Yeah.
But I wish it was that way down there. We didn't have them.
Here anyway.
How many gift shops? Go to Ocracoke. I went down to Ocracoke for a couple of weeks, spent a night. The owner of the yacht, I go down and they had a convention down there to be with them. So, and I used to live in Ocracoke when I was a kid, and it's heartbreaking to see what's happened to that island.
Isn't
I
it?
know it is. To remember the island the way it was in 1955, to go back, see all the people gone, and all the people down there, and the bad the bad part I see is what they brought with them is not that good. It's nothing to benefit the island. With them they bought gift shops, booze, just stuff.
Trendy little shops sell
That's
things
right.
it needs.
Right, Ocracoke on and you sell a dozen.
Yeah, and I was the other night walking around garbage.
I know.
This village, get rid of all the garbage and down.
We went down again on the yacht for the 4th of July. And I used to live down there, so I knew a lot of people. And then I was a cop, and then I was a patrol officer, so I knew everybody. I'm watching the doodad parade. 4th of July. God, that is so funny, I'm telling you. To be in the parade, all you gotta do is get out there and walk. And the way they do, things they have in that parade, one thing was mosquito control truck. A guy driving that
Right.
in the doodad parade. So
What year was that?
that was 2 years ago.
Oh, just ago, yeah. And what the parade used to
No, it used to be local people. They were all, that was in Ocracoke.
the 4th of July parade.
Yeah.
Kind of like your version of Old Chris in a way.
Very sane thing. They have the parade in the daytime, then at night party, and by 10 o'clock they're all fighting.
People get that out once a
But
year.
that was the way of life. I mean, that was what people look forward to.
Right.
Was that parade, and they've had it for years.
And you remember seeing it at the
Oh yeah, that was a big thing.
Big floats?
Now they do. They didn't back then. I mean, just dressed up, just different, decorating different things. A trailer and pulling that. And today it may be a mother and her 3 little kids all dressed up, some costume, but I enjoy it.
I'd go too, but I'm afraid to go to Ocracoke in July.
I know they stopped the ferry every day.
Did they?
No more people can't handle it.
I guess they gotta at some point figure out that there's ours with
Yeah.
all in it. Alright, Wayne, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's about it. But Avon's a nice place. It
Yeah,
still is.
it is.
I mean, it's still a nice place, but it's not like it used to be. If it was, I'd live in that.
You'd go back and retire ever?
I'd kind of like to leave the beat and move out of the country.
Like in the
Yeah, maybe on the river.
Murray Fulcher did that for Coast House.
Did he really?
He did. He sold his fish house past year down in Hurt.
That's where I want to go.
Well, that's
There's a bunch of guys from Ocracoke lives out there. Guys I was in the Coast Guard with.
Yeah, he's got a farm or something, and he said that he's great, loves it.
I was with Marine Patrol, so I stopped to see him one day. He just had all of his teeth, and he had teeth in that day. When they pull them out, they put new ones in. He looked at me. He said, "Wayne, old boy, sausage and eggs didn't taste that good this morning."
Oh, gosh. Poor fella.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put this